Hi, and welcome to a Game Talk session that I've decided to do. Last time I did a little game talk while I was playing Dead or Alive, and I found that actually it was a bit difficult to concentrate and speak while I was reacting to the computer, which was on medium difficulty. Having said that, I could do Dead or Alive. I can play Dead or Alive on hard difficulty. I thought, rather than just saying that, I'll do some. I'll play it. It's not something that I'm playing regularly at the minute, but I figured I've played Dead or Alive enough over the years, so let's do this. And the first character I got up was Jackie Bryant from Virtua Fighter. I do like Virtua Fighter, and I do have Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution on PlayStation 2, and I have Virtua Fighter 2 on Sega Saturn, and I also have Virtua Fighter 5, the disc version for Xbox 360, and the downloaded one with the the arcade sort of version of it. And I used Sarah Bryant in that one. Anyway, enough talk about Dead or Alive stuff and Virtua Fighter stuff, and get on with the gaming talk that I wanted to talk about anyway. A couple of points. One that I've been meaning to do, and I've been meaning to do a discussion about this. I was playing my Master League playthrough of Ridge County, which I'm now in Season 5. I think I'm 13, 14 matches into the actual league of Season 3. If I said Season 5, I don't know why. I'm in Season 3. And I sort of mentioned in one of the vids that I've put together this point: who owns video game review sites? Who owns them? And what I mean by that is, obviously, game reviews are markedly different from the actual games that we play. We read the review. Some of us read the review. I read all of the review on titles that I'm interested in, and I've done that for years. I've done that since I was young. Playing games on a Commodore 64, I bought Zap 64. I wrote letters to Zap 64, and some of them were printed. It goes back a long way. I've had N64 magazine for the Nintendo 64, Cube magazine for GameCube, if anybody remembers that. I've had other magazines such as Games TM and Edge over the years. I've read varying review sites, and I've had it where I've read a review of a game and it hasn't matched up to what I've played, and I'd make the point again that people like me who have played hundreds upon hundreds of titles, seriously guys, there are people like me out there. There are gaming nuts out there. There are people who know a lot more about video games and their structure and because they do programming and whatnot than I do. I did very basic programming and not much of it. I constructed my own text adventure, if anybody understands that. I wanted to make it bigger. I think I had 10 rooms that were interactive on a Commodore 64 some years ago. I've done sprite programming, stuff. I've done stuff back in the day when you could, on your Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, whatever it was, in your bedroom. You could do that, and you could get books and type in games and stuff. I understand structures, I understand stuff, and I understand a lot about playing games and how they feel to play and things like that over the years, because I've played hundreds of titles. I mean, who are these people trying to kid when they write a review and it doesn't actually play like that? It feels different. There are different things about it that they haven't mentioned. There are glaring things that they haven't mentioned. So I'm putting this question out there: who owns review sites, who owns them? Is it that the review site is owned by the companies, by game companies, by extension of companies, I mean game companies? Because it can't be that, can it? Because it's reviewing, you know, games of different companies. If one game company owned it, then it'd be, you know, they'd probably restrict it to only reviewing those or whatever. Other game companies wouldn't send their games to it. So it can't be that the actual sites are owned by companies. So what is owned by companies? Well, as I said, I read the review, and I don't need a score. I don't need the game to have a score at the end of a review. The only people who need a score at the end of a review, 9 out of 10 or whatever it is, you know, those scores, would be the game companies. I don't need a score. I need to read an accurate, objective critique of a video game. I can read. I'm quite capable of reading, and I'm quite capable of understanding should somebody put a very good, well put together, concise review, objective review of a game. I don't know if you guys feel the same. So the only people who would benefit from a score would be a video game company, because they'd be able to put that on the box then. And obviously that would have some bearing on, you know, what the customer thinks when they pick up the box. Much like the awards given, you know, these awards that nobody knows who gave them and what these awards are, and hundreds of nominees, you know, award nominees and all this sort of stuff they put on the box, don't they? And that's to lure the customer to think, oh, this must be a good game then. Well, what we're finding is that the reviews that we're reading, we've been lied to, because it's not what we're actually playing. It's not how it goes for us when we get our, you know, 50 odd quid, and the prices of games are being hiked by, you know, these season passes and all this sort of stuff. It's kind of like, you know, an increase, isn't it, in the actual price by 25 quid or whatever it is in some cases. And, you know, we're getting it home after paying our cash. Or some cases, we're not getting it home because what we've actually downloaded is a digital version. I'll be moving on to that in a bit. But, you know, customer in game shop, pick up box. Oh, this is good. It got this award. It got that award. It got this score. This magazine gave it that score. Well, the magazines have lost credibility, because what we found when I've been playing PES 2016, and I play an undiluted Master League playthrough. I play it as, you know, it is how it is, and I comment as I'm playing it. And if I get really fucked off with it, I get really fucked off with it. And if it really pisses me off, I show that. And if something's not right in the game, you know, I show it and I talk about it, and I talk about how it feels when I'm playing the game, what inputs I've given it, what's being overridden, what hasn't. You know? I mean, for example, Dead or Alive 5, I read a review on a magazine, on a site about Dead or Alive 5, and they gave it a rating of 6 out of 10, and they had these really backwards view of sexism and stuff, and oh, you know, it's sexist and all this. They've had that view for years. Let's not talk about the six-packs on the men then. Let's not talk about the muscles on the men. Let's not talk about the portrayal of men in video games. You know, the beefcakes, the beefcakes they give. I mean, there's an example in it. Rideout. You know? And Rideout, obviously, you know, superpowers, you know, big beefcake and all that, you know. I mean, of course, it's men like that all the time. Walking down the street, they're all like that round my end. Obviously. They're not sexualised, are they? No. So they've got this really sort of stupid, archaic view of sexualisation and stuff, which I could get onto that. But hey, if you want a view of that, you know, go watch Thunderfoot or something. Go. If you don't, you know, like that sort of stuff, go to Anita Sarkeesian and her twisted view of it. Eh? But anyway, so they gave it 6 out of 10, and one of the things that I found when I bought it, because I've been playing Dead or Alive for years, and what I found is this. It was the introduction that I needed into fighting games. when I bought Dead or Alive 3 back in the day, having seen it at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I, got bought an Xbox, got chatted up by the girl behind the counter at the time. She wanted my phone number and everything else, and that's obviously, a direct result of playing video games. Obviously, it makes you behave that way. And I got my second-hand copy of Dead or Alive. Then, when I played it, I found it, one of those types of games where I could just have fun with the character. And it was so pick up and playable. And because of that, I started learning different bits. And because of that, I wanted to learn a bit more. And then I sat down and I learned it. I learned a character. And that character is the character that I'm using here. It's Christy. And so I formed a relationship with Dead or Alive as a games player, where I really enjoy this title because it single-handedly, because of its fast-paced, fluid combat and its forgiving nature of inputs, and if people play beat 'em ups, they'll know what I mean. Some are quite rigid in their input structure, where you'll input, I don't know, punch, punch, kick, and there'll be that kind of delay. Dead or Alive is quite forgiving, and so if you're a human like me, you've got a controller. It's a good one to get into, a good one to pick up. It's not the most technical beat 'em up ever, but this one has faults. This one has, like Pairs, it has a collision detection fault. And if you've seen this video, if you've been paying careful attention, you will see that characters can hit each other without even touching each other and stuff like that. I wrote to this gaming site that gave this game 6 out of 10. I explained these points. I asked why they weren't included in the review. Fighting games they play them at tournaments. This is not tournament playable. You can't play Pairs at a tournament because it's just not professionally done. It's got so many things that you haven't touched it, but the other characters, the other fighter's character will be affected by it and stuff like that. You can't fight like that. That's not tournament worthy. And things like this should be pointed out in the review, but they weren't. And that's my point, is that who owns these scores? Now, this wasn't given 10 out of 10. It wasn't given, all that. So it's like, I still have fun with the game, but both my daughter and I, who can play this game to some level of competence, like I said before, we tag up. Christy and Helena are a partnership in Dead or Alive, and my daughter loves to use Helena, and she's bloody good with her. So we tag up, and she is of the opinion that I am, that the collision detection is absolutely awful. We call it magic air, and Genfu in this game we believe is the master of the magic air. And much like Pairs, people say Pairs has like mutant abilities where you can phase through players and stuff. It's a known thing, but they're not mentioned in reviews. So you go to a game shop, you pick up a box, it's got this award, that award, it's got this scoreline, that scoreline. Who owns it, people? And if they're doing it and they're paying for it, which quite obviously they are, as I've mentioned before, Xbox paid YouTubers to put a positive spin on Xbox. The whole Forza 6 thing, which I'm really sore about, that cost me hundreds of pounds. My Xbox is sitting there gathering dust, and after all them patches, it's still broken. And yet Drive Club got a bad review at launch because it didn't work. Well, Forza 6 still doesn't work. So who owns video game reviews? I'm coming to the end of this little clip and my waffling on about stuff. But it's an important point that I need to get out there. I did mention about digital download stuff. I have things to discuss about that, so it looks like I'm going to have to make another video and put that out there as well. Okay, take care guys, thanks for watching, and